Sorry guys, I can't turn the radio off in the options. I've tried everything, but no luck. So we're just gonna have to grin and bear it. Either way, here is the next set of nodes in the impossible chamber room. So I imagine they're probably gonna have something funny to say in here, possibly. But let's see, what do we got?
Because our test chamber environments were simplified for training purposes, we created visual hotspots within the rooms to guide players' attention. The design is essentially a balance between round objects and sharp objects. The sharp objects representing background elements, and the round objects, such as doors and movable props, comprising our points of visual interest.
Okay, alright, the next one's up there.
For the first few months of development, we rendered the views through portals to 2 off-screen textures. This approach was easy to implement and was compatible with a wide range of graphics hardware. Unfortunately, this method was incompatible with anti-aliasing and consumed a large amount of video memory in order to handle recursive views through several portals. Because of these disadvantages, we switched to a system which renders portal views recursively into the frame buffer with the aid of the stencil buffer to isolate pixels corresponding to a given portal. This is a more effective scheme because it is compatible with anti-aliasing and does not consume any additional video memory for off-screen textures.
Yeah. Apologies if I don't have anything to say for some of these, but I'm not a programmer, I'm not a coder, I'm not a developer, so I don't really, this is all just like, this is all like complex technobabble to me, so yeah, stuff like that, I don't usually have that much to say, but yeah. Okay, so we are now in the first momentum puzzle. Let's see what we got here.
Portal momentum ended up being the hardest concept to convey. For this series of puzzles, which went through more design iterations than virtually any other part of the game, we introduced the idea of redirecting your momentum using portals, slowly, step by step. We even have the AI voice pretty explicitly explain the elements of the puzzle, something we avoided throughout most of the rest of the game.
Oh, interesting. So, apparently, out of everything in the game, this is the one that had the most iterations to the point where they even needed GLaDOS to specifically say something about it. Okay, interesting. The more you know. I'm not seeing a radio, which is good news, unless it's further in. Probably, because there's been a radio in every single chamber so far. Can't hear one. Which again, that's good news for me, because I found the radio was really obnoxious.
Using gravity to fall into one portal so that you come rocketing out the other portal, a skill we call flinging, was another difficult concept to train. We designed a specific visual cue, a pushed-out concrete block with checkerboard tile above a pit, to indicate to players that it's time to use the fling maneuver. Repeated several times, this cue helps players associate pushed-out concrete slabs with flinging, in much the same way that players learn to associate cubes with buttons.
Okay, yeah, I can kind of see that, yeah. So basically, whenever you see something like this, basically means it's time to fling yourself. Right. Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah, I can see that. Ah, radio, my worst enemy. But we're here for the node, so I'm just going to ignore you.
Originally, these exit portal surfaces were static geometry in the final position, but playtesters stubbornly refused to look up to find them. This is another example of the classic game design problem of coaxing players to look up. By putting the portals on moving pistons, we were able to start them in a position that players were more likely to see.
Okay, interesting. So originally, all the these platforms were originally like in the final position, like in just like they were all like here, but players were not looking up, so they had to actually move the platform on a piston to actually get their attention. Okay, I see. Yeah, to be honest, I can kind of imagine like that being an issue, like, because again, unless they moved, yeah, I can imagine that being a bit difficult as well, because I mean again, I imagine that it'd be difficult for me to notice as well. So yeah, good idea there, Valve. Okay, so we're in the chamber where we get the second portal gun, and I can already see and hear the radio just over there. But we are here for the first commentary node. Right, the next couple nodes are in here. So let's see what we got.
Originally, a weighted button was used to open the far door, but playtesters so strongly associated boxes with buttons that they'd get stuck searching hopelessly for a box. We changed the big button to a pedestal-mounted push button, thus removing the box association, but playtesters still had trouble realising they needed to shoot a portal through the door. Adding a ticking timer sound when the door was open cued players that the puzzle expected them to act during that time, which solved the problem.
Okay, interesting. So this is where they had to I mean, even though we'd already seen them at this point, I think this is possibly the this is probably the test that first made it. I mean, again, I think we've seen these buttons before this point, but this is the chamber where they needed to make a new version of the button because they associated with buttons with cubes. So to avoid that issue, they had this pedestal button. And another problem they had was with the not knowing where to shoot the portal. So when they hear the ticking, it's an indication they need to like shoot a portal through there. Okay, so yeah, I get that.
This room is designed to build anticipation for the big moment when players finally get the fully powered portal gun. The puzzle path brings you in a circle around the device, so that it's virtually always in sight, right up until you grab it.
Ah, I missed it. Okay, this is test chamber number 12, and here's the next node.
Player training doesn't always stick, especially after the introduction of a big new concept. For instance, after they had acquired the fully powered portal device, playtesters often forgot about the fling maneuver. Since it's such an important skill, this puzzle is designed to reintroduce the idea of flinging.
Oh, okay, interesting. So initially, after getting the fully fledged portal gun, people completely forgot about the flinging mechanic. Right? Yeah. Okay, I get that. So even after that, they still have the platforms move just in case anyone forgot. Right? Yeah. I can understand that. Yeah. I mean, again, it's a brand new mechanic. You think the flinging might not be necessary anymore, but no, still is. Right. Okay. So this is the chamber where GLaDOS says it might take a while, and where she'll revive you with Pectin Cell and Adrenaline. I think there's a couple in here. So what we got here?
When we moved from largely placeholder art to our final visual design, this was the first level to get a facelift. We chose this map because it had many of our gameplay elements integrated into a relatively small space. The test chamber art direction was designed to make everything appear purposefully placed. The simple design helps focus players on the puzzles. It also provides a nice contrast to the later, much less sterile behind-the-scenes environments, which contributes to a clear sense of progression.
Yep, not really that much to say about that one, but okay, the next one's in there, so let's see. There's the radio. Not that I care. Anyway, what we got?
This is the first map in which we experimented with solving the puzzle in as few portal placements as possible. We tried to fit that concept into the story mode, but were never quite able to sell it. Instead of abandoning the idea altogether, we added the concept to a series of post-game challenge maps.
Interesting. Okay, and to get to the last one, we actually have to complete the puzzle. Right, what's the last one here, in this chamber?
A problem we came across with virtually any puzzle involving boxes and doors was that the players could portal the boxes to the other side of the door, thereby trapping themselves in a room with buttons but no boxes. We set up special triggers to detect and handle these cases, and then added the box delivery tubes to ensure players could always be supplied with the required tools.
So that means players could just like trap themselves in with I see, so players could actually like get stuck like that. Okay, interesting. Okay, thankfully the radio is all the way over there and I can't actually hear it from here. So let's see what we got.
A few playtesters put a portal on the floor here and used the rising stair pit to skip the rest of the puzzle. We'll usually rework a level if playtesters discover a way to bypass chunks of the puzzle too easily. But in this and a few other cases where skipping ahead arguably takes more skill than solving the puzzle properly, we let the ninja solution stand.
Ah, okay, interesting. So they actually, they usually, so basically what they're saying there is, if there's usually a way of skipping a huge chunk of the level, they do usually like rework it, but in some cases, like here, they decide to leave that skipping solution in. That's interesting. Okay, what's this next one here?
This is a great spot to appreciate the recursive nature of portals. If you place a portal on each side of this hallway, you'll notice the portals seem to go on forever, similar to the effect you get in a Hall of Mirrors. In actuality, we support a maximum of 9 recursive portal views down any chain of portals. We achieve the impression of infinite recursion by copying part of the previously rendered frame onto the final portal in the recursive chain. It's not perfect, but it's inexpensive and effective.
Yeah, now you mention it, it does kind of look like a Hall of Mirrors. Not that I've really been to one, but I've seen them in like movies and TV shows and stuff, so I know what they're talking about. But yeah, it does. It does kind of look like a Hall of Mirrors a bit, yeah. Except it's a Hall of Mirrors that you can actually walk through. So yeah, okay. Alright, there's one more to listen to, all the way up here, where the box initially was. Okay. Luckily, we don't need to fling ourselves to get up there. We can just aim our cursor over it.
We designed this room to draw the player's eyes to the box. The light from the observation room casts horizontal shadows that point at the box, which is directly lit by a warm light from the ceiling. This warm light helps the box stand out against the predominantly cool test chamber lighting. The varying size squares of the off-limit surface also help direct the player's attention upward.
Okay, right, so that helps like light the chamber, like these like there are these little light shaft type things which light up the test chamber, but in some cases they are actually there to also help direct attention to the actual box as well. Okay, I see. Okay, so this is the chamber where GLaDOS mentions about the cake for the first time. Right,
This particular section went through several iterations because it's the first place where players are required to perform possibly the trickiest portal maneuver, the double fling. Originally, the room also featured an energy ball redirection puzzle. Combined with a new double fling skill, however, it proved to be too much for most playtesters. Overwhelmed players tend to not digest new information, so we simplified the puzzle to require only the double fling. To nudge players in the right direction, we also included visual hints, such as the previously introduced single fling theme, the pushed-out concrete slab with a checkerboard landing zone.
Okay, so apparently this chamber did originally used to have like a it was meant to have like the energy pellet as well, but it was a bit too much all at once. So they moved it. So they moved that chamber a little bit further on, I think. Okay, and yeah, again, this requires the double fling. The double fling's not that different from the regular thing. It's just doing it twice.
This puzzle requires players to redirect an energy ball through multiple portal placements. The multiple steps cause many early playtesters to panic and accidentally redirect a ball right into themselves, with deadly results. We redesigned the test chambers so that portals can only be placed in the top half of the room, which solved the problem by generally leaving players out of the ball's reach.
So players used to panic and direct the ball into their faces. Oh, I'm sorry for laughing, but that's just hilarious. I mean, I can understand why that would. I mean, again, little 10-year-old me, I can imagine doing that as well. But man, that's funny to think about. Right, what's next?
We noticed through our playtest that many of our players weren't aware of the fact that you could place portals while falling. Since placing portals as you are falling is essential to accomplishing flings and many other portal tricks, we implemented this puzzle so that the only way to solve it was to use the mid-air placement tactic. It took numerous iterations and lots of tuning before this consistently played well.
Okay, so initially players didn't know you could actually shoot portals whilst falling, and yeah, that would be a problem if you didn't know about that, considering you rely on it so much throughout the throughout the later half of the game. So yeah, that is important. So yeah, again, it's good. It's a good idea to teach these things as early as possible, so that players become, comfortable and confident with various techniques. Because again, you do rely on the mid-air portal. You do rely on that a lot throughout the game.
Perhaps the most important purpose of this final test chamber is to cement the double fling maneuver training. For previous flings, we employed a visual cue, a pushed out section of a wall. In preparation for the more freeform behind the scenes levels, however, we take the training wheels off. To proceed, players must realize they can double fling almost anywhere they want to, with or without hints.
Yeah, that would also be important as well. So again, it's good to try and get this information into players as early as possible. But again, there's only so long you can keep the training wheels on. Eventually you do need to try and get the players to learn they can do it at any time they want, with or without hints. So yeah, there's only so much time you can spend with the training wheels before you start doing things for real. Okay, what's next?
In this puzzle, we wanted players to realize that using portals, they can travel long distances in a short step. Originally, we had stairs from the ground level to the upper rooms. Many playtesters, however, were able to run from one room to the other quickly enough to consider it a solution, without ever thinking to use the even easier portal method. By changing the stairs to very slow-moving lifts, we were able to level the travel time for all player experience levels, thus making the intended solution more clear.
Oh, okay, so originally this test chamber had stairs going up to them floors, I think, if I'm understanding it correctly. But players were able to shoot portals into here, I think, if I'm understanding that correctly. So originally there were stairs going up and down from these rooms. Again, I could be if I'm understanding this correctly, there were stairs there and there, but players were able to just shoot portals up to here, and to the point where they just made that the solution. Where a solution came from players trying to do things much quicker, which I like that. At least, again, if I am interpreting that correctly, but if that is true, I like that. Okay, this is the first turret chamber.
For Portal, we wanted to create a turret that was different from the traditional Half-Life 2 turrets. The Half-Life 2 turrets were nothing more than mindless mounted guns. In Portal, we wanted the turrets to have personality, to be characters. The first step was a redesign of the look. Once we had the look of the new turrets, they seemed less like menacing machine guns and more like cute robots. And robots can never really be cute until they are talking robots. So the next step was creating the vocal characteristics of the turrets. Working with Ellen McLean, we settled on an innocent-sounding voice with dialogue to match. This juxtaposition of killing machine and innocent, non-aggressive personality ends up making the Portal turret a memorable character.
I like that. Yeah, so basically they used the Half-Life 2 turret as a base, and then just basically try to portalify it to make it look less threatening and more cute. Which again, I mean again, the turret is arguably, I'd say, GLaDOS and the turrets are probably the most iconic thing in the entire game. So. It worked for a very, very, very good reason. Okay, next.
Even though we didn't want Portal to be too combat heavy, we wanted to add at least a light combat mechanic. After a few less than successful attempts to actually realize this light combat concept, we settled on turrets as a good compromise. The turrets can be defeated with tricky portal maneuvers, but they're also susceptible to a more straightforward berserker approach.
Okay, so basically the turrets are here just because they wanted some combat in the game. Again, with a game like this, you do want like multiple mechanics just so things don't get too stale. So again, you know, you got some box puzzles, you got some energy ball puzzles, and for whenever you feel like having some combat, the turrets are a nice answer to that. So again, it's just making all these mechanics and just making them basically work, which again I think they've done a pretty good job. Help. Yep, there's even one back here.
Even though Portal tells a simple story, we created a lot of backstory for Aperture Science, for its employees, for its rivalry with the hated Black Mesa, and for where all of this fits into the cosmology of Half-Life. This first Portal game doesn't reveal all of it, but we crammed a lot of little details into the environments. This area, for instance, called the Ratman Den, hints that there may be other people trapped in the facility.
Okay, I see. So this is where they started with the lore building and stuff. They're trying to like integrate it in with the Half-Life universe and stuff like that, and other little details. That's nice. Not too much, but it's a start.